if a man fights for freedom in one place, he's fighting for it everywhere.
O'Duffy's men quite obviously had different motives, as strong indeed as many of the Republicans. Some went to fight against communism, others from a sense of adventure. There were men like George Timlin, now a Dublin jeweller, an NCO in the Irish Army, a lieutenant with the Spanish Bandera, led his men over the top at Ciempozuelos. Why did he go?
Spirit of adventure, and to oblige a friend.
Who was the friend?
General O'Duffy.
Well, how were you obliging him? In what way?
He asked me would I like to go, and I thought he would be pleased to have me, otherwise he wouldn't have asked me. And I said yes.
Yeah, you, of course, were a former soldier in the army here.
I was, yes.
So you felt that you would like to get out and do some fighting in Spain?
The very thing.
Were you therefore, like some of the others, imbued, as it were, with the spirit of Christ and fighting for Christianity? Did you have this feeling?
Not really at the commencement, although such a spirit was encouraged.
Captain Pádraig Quinn, veteran fighter of the War of Independence and the Civil War, now living in retirement in County Kilkenny.
Communism was running right through the country and had captured the greater part of Spain at the time. When General O'Duffy sent out his appeal for volunteers, there were some a couple of well-known bishops at the time. I suppose all bishops are well-known, but there's a couple of bishops anyway that encouraged him.
Matt Doolan, today a sales representative in his native Cork. In 1936, a corporal with O'Duffy's brigade in Spain.
I'm a great believer in the freedom of all religions and all and political expression.
But you considered yourself then, and you obviously do now, as a very good Catholic, I presume.
A sound, let us say a sound Christian. Basically a sound Christian.
Yeah, well, was
practicing Catholic.
All right, was it Christianity or Catholicism that brought you to Spain then?
Christianity.
What were the motives then that do you think that brought most of the brigade out? Was it, again, a spirit of adventure?
Mainly a spirit of adventure, as well as a mild hysteria in the sense that they listen to propaganda. And it's very easy to become full of propaganda when you hear it and believe it, even though it may not be altogether true.
In fact, was it altogether true, do you think?
It was mainly true.
Unfortunately, those that were not idealistic stuck out a mile more prominently than those who were idealists. And it's about 20% of the lads went out there went for various motives, and it was quite obvious from their behaviour there. They took very little interest in any idealism. They went for various reasons. Some had different politics, some had no politics, some had religion, some had no religion. They went out for material reasons and for excitement.
Irish Independent, 26th of October, 1936.
Ireland declares war on communism.
Huge Dublin meeting.
O'Duffy's recruiting campaign had the backing of the church and of the Irish Independent. Although it had to be organised secretly, O'Duffy's comings and goings to Spain were well publicised, as were his appeals for aid and for prayers. Money poured into the enterprise as Catholic Ireland worked itself into a religious fervour, and O'Duffy had no difficulty in recruiting 700 men for his brigade.
The Blue Shirts were the Irish fascists. I know some people say they weren't fascists, but I remember actually in 1934 the recorded statement of Johnny Costello. Now, you know, he became veteran of Taoiseach of the inter-party government. And I quite vividly remember the words he said that the blue shirts, the black shirts had triumphed in Italy, the brown shirts had triumphed in Germany, and so assuredly will the blue shirts triumph in Ireland.
But not all of them were fascists or even blue shirts, though some who sailed with O'Duffy were no doubt imbued with the barren ideals of fascism. Getting them out to Spain, however, was a chaotic business, but eventually, after many a misadventure, the Bandera Irlandesa set out for Lisbon en route for Spain and a 6-month tour of service.
Irishmen had taken part in the crusades of other days, and Irish Legion of today will, please God, lead in the march on Barcelona to the strains of the faith of our fathers, and place the cross of Christ the King high over that city, where every priest has been slain, and where every church is in a shambles. At Lisbon, we found all the Irish in the city, and many Portuguese had assembled, led by the Dominican father from Corpo Santo, Father Paul O'Sullivan. The volunteers attended Mass at the altar of St. Patrick in the Irish National Church.
Thy poor children bestow a sweet smile, and now thou art high.
And they saw the relic of the skull of St. Bridget, left in Lisbon in 1283 by crusaders on their way to the Holy Land.
After Mass, we visited the Irish convent of Bom Sucesso. The Mother Prioress sent hundreds of rosary beads, scapulars, medals, and prayer books to us.
That one of them said to me, Sister, we hadn't come here for holiday. I would like you to know that. We have come out here, he said, to fight for Spain and fight for religion. And we remember, he said, all that we have suffered in the persecutions in Ireland. And we don't mind, we will give our lives for Spain, he said. And we remember also in the past that the Spaniards helped us, and they came over to Galway, he said, and they were defeated, he said, there by the English. But we will have our revenge now, he said, and we don't mind if we give all our lives. And we're not coming, he said, we're coming here to fight for religion for Ireland.
Yes. Father Paul brought them down because Father Paul had great faith in our prayers, and he brought down this group to make it more realistic for us so that we would pray for them.
And another said, another man, Sister, said he to me, Sister, we're going to shoot every damn red in Spain. We won't leave one left, and we'll come back with the cockades, he said, on our head.
I remember the evening quite well that we were called to the grate, a tiny little parlour with the double bars and a crowd of Irishmen outside with Father Paul. And I pitied them because I said, you're endangering your lives. And they said to me, we are very glad of that, sister. That's what we came for. We're coming to fight for religion, and we don't want the Reds to conquer Spain. Spain has always been a Catholic country like Ireland, and we are proud to go with our leader. And they asked for our prayers, and we promised that we'd pray for them. And that
they asked for rosaries also.
Yes, they asked for rosary beads, and we gave them rosary beads and medals of Our Lady of Good Success. And they were very happy group, and we were very pleased to meet them. And I remember it very well, although it's a long time ago now.
But while O'Duffy's men came to war in an organised body, those who went to fight for the Republic did not. For them, getting to Spain often meant not just secrecy, but a good deal of hardship as well.
It was a difficult long road because when I went there, it was illegal for anybody to travel to Spain. This was the internal sort of legislation which arose from the FAS, of this non-intervention restriction on volunteers. There was also the fact that the Spanish Republic itself was completely blockaded. One couldn't go up to the Spanish border with a passport and say, well, I didn't have a passport, incidentally. So how I did it was to go to London and there get a weekend ticket, which would enable me to stay in Paris for a weekend. And there I made contact with the recruiting centre of the brigade. It was all very, very illegal, clandestine. And then after a few days in Paris, when we were briefed on what was there before us, what we were likely to encounter, and the last opportunity to step out, by the way, some people did. I'm saying this to mention that the picture was given to us of conditions was an authentic, realistic, and honest depiction, so there could be no illusions about the actual conditions.
Most of them were smuggled in over the Pyrenees, and training for some of the Republicans was pathetic in terms of the war they were going to have to fight. For most, it could be measured in days rather than weeks.
We learned how to advance under fire, how to retreat under fire, how to take advantage of natural cover, and things which really are rather elementary. And we fired 10 shots with a rifle. I think the first 5 scared me more than it scared anyone else.
There was the fact, of course, that it wasn't an army in the sense that a lot of armies were armies where a commander can just walk around and order people around and treat them like dogs or just as he likes, or shout at them. They had to be treated as people, and they were people. They knew what they were fighting for, and our intention was always to give them the best chance to think.
What about the leadership of the brigades themselves? What sort of quality was that?
The organization of the international brigades from all over Western Europe and America was very, very well done. But the provision of trained military leaders was very, very badly done. We were just holus polus bunched in there, and here and there, and anybody with military training at all was selected to occupy positions.
It is correct, because remember that the Spanish army sided with the generals in the revolt against the Republic. So the Spanish people had no army, and they had to build up on the basis of the different militias belonging to the different political parties, trade unions, political groupings who formed their own militias, very badly equipped, not only in terms of armaments, but in terms of uniforms, and therefore the facilities didn't exist for the training of volunteers.
What they lacked in training, they made up for in courage of a high order. Foolhardy though it may seem to a trained military mind, this was a very, very impressive thing.
And it was really flesh against metal. And no matter how valiant an army is, or how good the morale is, there comes a time when you need a little bit more than that.
From Lisbon, O'Duffy's men set off for 6 weeks' training in the city of Cáceres, not far from the Portuguese border. Cáceres, the old city of the conquistadores in the province of Extremadura, was to be their base throughout their time in Spain. And even today, 40 years on, it has the backwater atmosphere of a city far from the frenetic new industrial Spain. It's remembered in Spain because it was from hereabouts that stout Cortés went off to exploit the new world of the Americas. And in Ireland because it was from here that the Irish went out to fight for Franco.